Alrighty, big volatility Monday, April 15th. Quick session recap here, starting off with ES. So, one of the main themes we have been looking at and discussing in ES is the fact that price continues to show this near term downtrend. Take a look at the series of lower highs, repeated series of lower highs here. So, we come into the session knowing that last week ES did break that key daily support. And as I had mentioned, not only in the weekly kickoff, but this morning during the pre-market prep live stream, buyers needed to defend this 5,200, 5,195 zone. That was a key area for buyers to defend to kind of show that this action through here on Friday was going to be a failed breakdown. Now, what we have off the open is essentially a bit of consolidation, right? Not a ton of activity through here, just sideways. Price resolves lower, no bid at 5,200, no bid at 5,195, right? You get the first little bit of a bounce here versus 5,180 area, and then that 5,195 / VWAP zone is rejected. So we know at that point, remembering the context, that sellers are still in control of this market. Sellers are still in control of ES. And that's a key detail because it's going to tell you how you want to proceed with this session, right? So if you are coming into a session like this and you're wanting to focus on longs or maybe only trade longs, right? You're going to need to see something that is incredibly compelling because odds are that sellers are going to send this into our downside levels of support. That's exactly what we saw today with a trend day lower. Now, this was well outside of what I was expecting for today. I had mentioned this morning looking for quieter session like we typically see on a Monday. Not the case today, right? Volatility is definitely back. We definitely have more active markets with much wider ranges, higher volatility index. So what you're going to see with that again is outsized moves like this, right? Multiple ATR type of moves. Let's take a look at the actual move for today. It's 120 points. Look at this right through here. So today, including the overnight session, we're looking at about almost 120 points there from today's high down into today's low. That's a 2 ATR move. Right, that is definitely an expansion move. So price resolving lower from last week's daily barcode, right? We did have a lot of volatility last week as well, but look at the action. We didn't really get a move outside of this kind of structure right through here where my cursor is. Today, we are seeing that move. And so the question, as always, is what's next? Well, what I'm going to primarily be looking at here on ES is how price responds to this 51, 50, 90 area. And the significance of this level is that was the previous all-time high back in 2022. So it is possible that this is a breakout, right? And now price is coming and retesting that prior breakout point. We want to see how price is going to be responding versus this 5,100, 50, 90 area. That's going to be the main watch. Aligns loosely with today's low. Today's low is 50.94. So essentially coming into tomorrow's session, what we want to see is how price is going to be trading versus today's low and whether or not buyers are starting to step in versus that prior all-time high or this expansion move that we're seeing on the daily has more legs, has more downside continuation, perhaps into still an unfilled daily gap here. So it may see some action into 50-50 even, right? So you want to be really careful with any long trades here. Obviously, the structure has shifted in a very, very big way. If you have been conditioned to focus, just on buying every single dip or buying every single test of support, I had kind of talked about this last Friday, simply because of the action we've seen since November. Buying support has been getting paid. You want to be very cautious with that approach and just keep it in mind, like, okay, the structure has definitely shifted in favor of sellers. So you either want to focus on shorts or if you're going to continue to trade longs, just making sure that you are more selective with the areas that you are picking and making sure that you have that higher time frame structure on your side. So that's ES. Main focus is going to be how price trades versus that 5100 area, that today's low area, and then essentially using that as the main reference point for the session. Again, this is all dependent on how active that overnight session is. If we have some type of gap to work with, I'll update accordingly during the pre-market prep live stream. Let's jump into NQ. So NQ, very similar. Now last week, ES had triggered that daily breakdown, that break of support. Now NQ triggering that daily breakdown as well. So what I actually like on the NQ chart is, or the time frame rather, is the 4 hour. This paints a pretty clear picture here if we kind of zoom in. So here's your daily breakdown down below that 18,100, 18K area. This whole zone previously has provided support for the NASDAQ over the past, well, it looks like since late February, right? So a long time we've been seeing price kind of defend this area. But again, similar to what we see in ES, intermediate term is that sideways range, but near term kind of giving us some clues with that downtrend, right? Near term definitely shows us a series of lower highs and lower lows. Today, sellers really taking over and showing price through that daily support zone. So a daily breakdown today on NQ. What we want to see is, everything I mentioned about ES and being cautious with, any type of longs that you're looking at in that index is going to apply here to NQ. You want to make sure you're picking very good spots and making sure that, at least in the near term, the market structure is on your side, whether that be, maybe the 15 minute, 30 minutes, something like that. You want some type of favorable structure that you can lean risk against, something that is going to be more than just some, intraday type of signal that you see. Like if you are seeing some type of signal like this on the 2 minute time frame and you're thinking the bottom is in and you continue to try longs like that, that's not a strategy that works. You're just going to continue to get run over. You're going to be fighting the primary trend on the day and just getting steamrolled. Now, this is probably review and like no brainer for a lot of you, but I know that people tend to get trapped in this thinking that it can't go down anymore or anything like that. You're just going to get run over, right? This is a daily time frame breakdown, so we're not looking at any type of 2 minute type of reversal or anything like that. The daily time frame is in control here, so most likely you're going to need some type of 1 hour or 4 hour or a daily setup to reverse that move, right? So hopefully that is clear. As far as what we're looking for tomorrow on NQ, I like to see how price responds versus the 17,800 level. Potential bounce spot. We have seen some support there previously. You can see the recent, not really recent, but the February attempts at 17,800. Those retests through this zone have held as support, even back here into February 21st. Holding as support right through here. So I'll be looking to see how price trades versus today's low or this 17,800 area. Now, any bounce trades, remember, there's now a lot of resistance overhead. So the bounce trades need to be treated a little bit differently. You probably want to be selling the bulk into that first area of resistance and then making sure you keep very tight trails. Okay? Because at least for now, this near-term action does show that downtrend. So until this essentially triggers a change in character, which would be a move up and through 18,320 with the way the structure currently is, caution is warranted on any longs. All right. So the context here is a daily breakdown on both NQ and ES with that expansion move today. As always, anytime we have these expansion moves, the expectation should be for a slower session. I have said that a couple of times recently, and we just see another very active session, but I just work with probabilities, right? Try not to get too much recency bias. Just work with what tends to happen normally, and anytime we have these big expansion plays, tends to be an inside day at the very least. So be looking for that tomorrow. See how price responds versus today's low. If you guys have any questions about anything, feel free to shoot me a DM. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow morning for the pre-market prep live stream. Have a good afternoon. Later.